it looks like there's a lot of things going on in Milwaukee.
Right.
What are some of the things you think you can do to make a difference? Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. We want to thank our sponsors at Park Bank. Thank you for everything you're doing. And I have a friend of mine. We're talking back from the Feingold days, right? When I ran for lieutenant governor, he was a young man then. Mr. David Crowley, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, man. No complaints. Exhausted. Running a campaign, being a legislator, but more importantly, being a father. Got 3 girls, 12, 2, and 12 weeks. And a husband,
12 weeks.
12, yeah.
So it's funny, when I was running for lieutenant governor, my first child didn't come, but she was in the stomach, and I was traveling, and I just remember the stress of traveling and having a wife at home who was pregnant, and then the child came. It was just chaos. So how are you dealing with that balance? Because you don't get any sleep at all.
No. I mean, to be honest with you, I married Superwoman. Shout out to my wife, Erica Crowley. She has been amazing. I wouldn't be able to do this work. I don't think anybody can do this work. I mean, being elected or just being in the community or being an executive, you need somebody that can be there with you, support you, build you up when you're down. And she's just been an amazing partner in crime in all of this work. And so I don't know what I would do if I didn't have Erica on my side.
How was the process of, because you're a legislator, right? Mm-hmm. So how does she decide, how do you say to your wife and say, I'm laughing, I've been through this. Sweetheart, I really think I have a bigger goal. I think, I think I want to be an executive
right.
in Milwaukee, by the way.
Right.
One of the highest segregated places in the country, all the challenges. I want to be that guy.
Right.
If I'm going, that means the whole family's going. And she said...
So to be honest with you, it was almost as if I was trying to give her reason to talk me out of it. I was getting phone calls, being encouraged to get into this race, and for like 4 days straight, I'm like, all right, babe, you know what we getting into? And she was still pregnant, and it's just like, okay, are you sure you want to do this? And on the 4th day, she literally said, David, if you don't get into this race, me and you are going to have problems. And she understood, before we were married, that, I wanted to continue to work in politics. I had ambition as far as being able to be an elected official. And she has just been my number one supporter. And it was crazy because we was having that conversation. I announced on November 4th. November 5th, my baby was born. Wow. The day after I announced for the election. So I took a couple days off, but it has been a beautiful chaos. Mm-hmm. I guess you can kind of say it's been beautiful. It has been chaotic, but if I didn't have her, I don't know what I would be doing.
When I was running for lieutenant governor, and I said in the campaign trail, my life is chaotic. It's chaos. Mm-hmm. And a woman stopped me. She said, "Don't you ever say your life is chaotic. You say it's your life is rich." I'm like, okay, well, my life is rich. Rich with chaos.
Rich was right.
Rich with chaos.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you accept it for what it is, but at the same time, when you're in the trenches working on behalf of the people, mm-hmm. It can be chaotic, but at the end of the day, it's a beautiful struggle. Maybe I should say that.
I like that. A beautiful struggle. So why county exec? Why that move? And with all the challenges that mm-hmm. Milwaukee has right now, why put yourself through that? Why the executive? Why do you want to do that?
Well, my thing is, if not me, who? In a sense. So when you look at, I'm born and raised in the city of Milwaukee, grew up in the 53206 zip code on 23rd and Burleigh, went to Our Avenue, learned how to swim at Moody Pool. And when I look at Milwaukee County, it's like you got some of the best places to live in Milwaukee County. You got some of the best school systems in Milwaukee County. Yeah, you got many communities that have tremendous challenges, which means that we have a tale of two counties. And so when you think about us being number one of the segregated places in the country, who's going to lead us? Who's going to really have the policy discussions, the hard conversations with our white counterparts, with other elected officials? But also, I'm a bridge builder. And so when I look at the fact that Milwaukee has literally been a lightning rod for the whole state. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you're always railing on what Milwaukee is doing. And my thing is that, we've also been in our own bubble when you think about Milwaukee elected officials. And so how do we step out and start to become partners, build relationships with folks to say, we're in this together. And so let's make sure that when the tide rises, all the boats rise. And so I think that this is a perfect opportunity when you look at the DNC coming, all the opportunities here in Milwaukee County, and just really trying to find ways to make sure that, what's the plan for after this? How do we make sure that we can continue to bring more economic development, lift more people out of poverty, expand our transit system, and really focus on having a healthier community when you think about not just health, but also the education piece? And so, it's almost felt like it was destined for me to kind of do this. Never thought that I'd be involved in politics, but when I think about this particular seat, this is an opportunity to really change the trajectory and the narrative of Milwaukee County.
You're the first politician, I know a lot of leaders in Milwaukee that actually talked about the bubble in Milwaukee. Statewide, people outside of Milwaukee, we call you the state of Milwaukee. Right. People in Milwaukee kind of think Milwaukee. Right. Milwaukee's the alpha and omega for everyone, right? So it's interesting to hear you talk about actually reaching out to Milwaukee, understand that as Milwaukee goes, the state goes. So, right. Really it does. So it's good to hear in that perspective. So you're in this race. Mm-hmm. What can you make a difference in Milwaukee County? Like, what are the big challenges that you feel are the biggest challenge in Milwaukee? Because, they look like there's a lot of things going on in Milwaukee. Right. What are some of the things you think you can do to make a difference?
Bring back resources. I think every community across this state, is fighting for more resources from the state legislature. Mm-hmm. And it's really about bringing those resources back to really tackle and find ways to tackle the solutions locally. What we've seen is it went from having more local control to the state having more control over the locals. And with the relationships that I've built at the state level, with the relationships I have on the ground, I think that I can bring back those resources, but also build partnerships, right? And so when I think about, all these small farms that are going under because, they can't get their produce out, how can Milwaukee start to partner with them, right? If we say that we are the economic engine of the state, you can't say that without beating your chest and putting somebody else down who is not, quote unquote, the economic engine. So how do we start to say, we want to be partners in this? So it's really about bringing those resources back. Making sure that we can really focus on getting ourselves kicked off of the list of being one of the most segregated counties in the country. And the way that you do that is making sure that you can provide more opportunities. So, we're going to make sure that we're doing exactly that, looking at how we can help more people of color, and particularly African Americans in the city of Milwaukee, giving them more opportunities to education, to employment, to entrepreneurship, and really having some tough conversations with other local municipalities, because Milwaukee County, it has 19 different municipalities. So that's the city of Milwaukee, that's River Hills, that's Glendale, that's Shorewood. And how do we stop all of the poverty being concentrated in the city? We have to start working and start building bridges. But that's also making sure that we can continue to provide quality of services. So when you think about people with disabilities, when you think about somebody who's going to have a crisis with mental illness, when you think about somebody who just needs to get to work, that's not in Milwaukee County, right? We know that a lot of the jobs are in Waukesha, Washington, Ozaki. We continue to talk about Foxconn. If that's going to be a reality, I need to get my folks down there. And so how do we expand our transportation network strategically to make sure that we're focusing on a regional approach, not only to workforce development, but economic development as well?
Would you be the first black county exec?
I will be the first elected black county executive. So Lee Holloway was the first black county executive. When Scott Walker won his governor's race, he was the chair of the Milwaukee County Board when I was working there, and he ended up elevating to that position. I mean, eventually he lost his election. But I want to make sure that, again, this is not really about making history. This is about making the changes that we need to make.
When Lena Taylor was on here, and we talked about her running for mayor in Milwaukee, and I asked her the same question. So I'm going to ask you too. 40% of Milwaukee's black folk, about 15 are Latino brothers and sisters, and we've never had an elected mayor in Milwaukee. And so now we've never had an elected black person at county exec. Right. One, what's the problem? I mean, right?
That's real.
That's real. If you got the numbers, right? Like if that was in Madison, if we had half of that, we'd have a black mayor, Latino mayor, easily. There's no doubt about it, right? So, what's the holdup? There must be some division somewhere that these numbers are happening.
Absolutely.
And two, being in the county, like Waukesha is a very conservative area. So some of those areas are conservative. How does a black man from Milwaukee, what high school did you go to?
Bayview.
Okay, Bayview, a high school guy who went to Milwaukee from the city, black dude, win in a county that has never, ever elected a black man?
So let's start with the issue, right? Like, why hasn't this happened? Politically, Milwaukee is very different than everywhere else across this state. I mean, we have a spectrum of Democrats, we have a spectrum of Republicans, and I think at this moment, I think a lot of people have not trust any of our elected officials. Mm-hmm. And I think also when you think about many of our black elected officials, sometimes we get so bogged down with with our district, and we got to focus on our district, that sometimes you don't have the time or the ability to get outside of your own bubble, in a sense, because of all the needs that our districts have. But also, I mean, it takes tremendous sacrifice to run for mayor, to run for county executive, and if you don't have the support system, it's kind of hard to do that. But also, when you think about the money aspect to run for these types of seats, a lot of us don't have access to that. We don't have access to people who can just dump $6,000 or $3,000 into campaigns on a consistent basis so we can actually become the next, mayor, executive, or governor, right? It's great to see what Mandela Barnes has been able to do and ascend to the lieutenant governor's position. And I think that he's also been an inspiration to many of us to say that, we have to go out and take that risk, putting ourselves out there, being vulnerable to run for these types of seats. And I just think that now, many folks are, woke nowadays, to where they're like, no, it's time. And even though we are, a majority minority city, how do we bridge that gap with many of our white counterparts, has been one of the most difficult challenges as well. So, and I think that now with so many folks who now understand the inequalities that has been going on, particularly in the city of Milwaukee when it comes down to African Americans, folks are just like, what? Let's see what we can do. Let's make a change, because nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. And one of the things that I've been doing, even since I was a 16-year-old or community organizer, is stepping outside my comfort zone. And I want to be that example for many of the folks who look like me, to say, we can do this, but we also need to step outside our comfort zone to actually make the change, but also convince folks that this is the time and that we can actually do it.
Are you nervous about the primaries? 18th or 18th, right?
Yeah.
So that's like right away.
Yeah.
Are you nervous about this?
No, I'm kind of ready for the day to get here. I'm very confident about everything that's actually transpired up until this point. There are in taking advantage of every break that we've been able to actually, get. And so, for me, I guess I can't say no, I'm not nervous, because, it's vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there. You're going to get attacked. People are going to look at you. There's going to be some racist things that are being said. Folks look at me and just like, well, what does racial equity have to do with Milwaukee County? And it's just like, what do you mean? What does it have to do with Milwaukee County?
If anyone asks that question,
So it's I mean, you gotta laugh sometimes, because it's like you got to take a step back.
Just look at the data. I mean, the data tells you.
But the thing is, and I think that a lot of people won't do, is that you have to admit that we have a problem. And if you don't admit that you have a problem, how the heck are you gonna move forward? How are you going to actually figure out what the solutions are, or how we can bring more people to the table, if you're not willing to say, what, we have to change? And now you have conservative business groups saying, no, we need more diversity in executive positions, in our businesses. And even when you think about me running for county executive, you can only go to a handful of businesses and see black and brown people who are executives in private companies as well. And so this is really about changing the narrative of what we see in Milwaukee County, but also showing the fact that, like, what we do in Milwaukee County has the potential to create a ripple effect to affect every county, every town, every village, every city across this state.
If you win, think about the message that was
when
sent.
I win.
Okay. My man.
Yeah, when I win.
You gotta have that confidence. That's all. You gotta have that confidence to do this every day. If when you win, do you understand the impact and the accountability and responsibility you'll have to all parts of Milwaukee County, but especially going to be those young kids who go to Bayview or go to other different schools who never thought that they could achieve what you have achieved, and they never thought that they could get outside the Milwaukee walls. They never thought that they could do something more than what they're seeing in the hood.
Right.
Do you understand? Do you understand the impact that would have?
Absolutely. This community saved my life, and that's how I'm giving back to my community, is by being a public servant. So, growing up on 23rd and Burleigh or 22nd and Brown, I've seen, witnessed, and probably did some things that I probably shouldn't have. Luckily, I didn't get caught to be in this type of position. And I think a lot of young people don't have somebody to look up to that come from the same communities that they come from. And so while I campaign, I let folks know that, these are the things I want to do within Milwaukee County when you think about the services and making sure that people have access to opportunity. But it's bigger than that. This is also a position when you have to inspire, you have to encourage, you have to give hope. And that's what many of our young Black and brown kids need right now, to know that they have the opportunity to make it. And not to be who I am, but to be bigger and better and badder. And so, I absolutely believe in making sure that we reach out to our young people. Before I got involved in politics, I did youth development work. I was a facilitator, started organizing around community justice, teaching about teen domestic violence, and really showing young people the pathways of it's much more than the block. It's much more than the city. And shout out to organizations like Urban Underground, because that's who saved my life when I was 16 years old. And they showed me a different way, and actually brought me outside of Wisconsin. So I had a chance to travel and look at best practices when it came down to community organizing, but also seeing, other Black people in other positions. And it's just like, well, why don't we have these same opportunities, these same positions? And so me coming back and really I want to instill that in our young people, because a lot of them feel like they have to leave in order to make it.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that you shouldn't leave and experience something different. I just hope that they come back and pour into the next generation.
Yeah, because we can change things here. I mean, we can. It's funny you're saying. When I was younger, and I was working for Tammy Baldwin, and I went to D.C. First time I was in D.C. as a young man. I went to D.C. and it just blew my mind seeing the Black wealth.
Oh yeah,
Mercedes. I mean, it changed my whole perspective. Because of that, I came back, started Magna, started different organizations because I went to D.C. And I remember getting off to D.C. and I was downtown. I was Maryland. I'm like, look at all the
Chocolate City,
right? And it changed my whole perspective, because I'd been there before, but it was the first time I'd been there as a professional. And seeing it blew my mind, and it changed everything. That trip, everything I'm doing now, had set the tone for everything I'm doing because of that one trip, because I saw it, right? So if you have to see things, and look, my dad's an attorney, my mom has a master's degree, so I was around Black folks who were doing well.
Right.
But until you get around and you actually see it, everyone, like it wasn't just like a couple people, that is so powerful, symbolic of people seeing someone doing wonderful things. That's why I think it's important for what you're doing, even if you lose. I know you're going to win.
I mean, so even like when people like, the fact that I'm in this race is inspiring to a lot of folks, and people literally come up to me and say, well, thank you for doing this. We definitely understand why you're doing this. We know you're ice skating uphill when it comes down to this. But like, the thing is that we have to go out on a limb and show our community that we're willing to step up. And it's not just me. There are a lot of folks who are doing that. I mean, when you look at the city of Milwaukee, you got Lena Taylor, who's running for mayor. You got Tierman Spencer, who's running for city attorney. You got Jason Fields, who's running for
what's up, bro?
comptroller. And then you have folks like Spencer Cox, Treasurer Spencer Cox, who was the first African American to win a citywide seat in the city. And being able to see that, it's just like, you know what? I'm a millennial, and it's time for me to step up, and I want to make sure that even my elders know that we are ready.
Okay, so you said you're a millennial. So let's have this conversation. This is going to tell me if we can be cool or not. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Right, here we go. MJ or LeBron? Easy.
MJ.
Okay.
I was gonna say MJ. Okay. So but Michael Jordan all day. Don't get me wrong. I like LeBron.
Just you're a millennial. Y'all kind of.
No, man. I still love the old school basketball more than I like what's going on now. All right. But now it's like it's all Giannis right now, right? So
that's smart. Yeah. Giannis is the man. Yeah. He's the man. Okay. Top 5 hip hop. Top 5.
Oh man. I'm not going to say that this is it from 1 to 5, but Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z. Always been a big L fan.
LL Cool J?
No, Big L.
Big L.
Okay. New York died. He ended up getting murdered late 1990s, early 2000s, something like that. But and then I guess got to throw a new school in there, Kendrick Lamar.
Okay. I could deal with that, millennial. That's okay. We can.
Oh man, I mean, I got a bit of an old soul here. So
we can. You know what? We can be friends now. Now, if you would have said LeBron, we would have had problems.
No, man. I guess some would have probably said back in the day. I was like, because I used to like Kobe, so people was like, you're a LeBron hater, and I'm like, no, I just like Kobe.
Okay. Before we go, DNC's coming.
Yes.
To Milwaukee. Are you excited about this? Are you somehow going to play a role in that? Like, how does that impact the stuff that you're doing?
Man, it's really about making sure that the opportunity that it's going to provide touches every corner of the city of Milwaukee. I don't want this to be a downtown bubble, and this is going to provide tremendous opportunity for many folks. So if you have a business, if you have a venue, go to the website, sign up, start talking to folks about how you can be a part of the economic engine that this is going to bring. But I also think that we have to also look past the DNC, right? This is an opportunity. We're going to be the center of the universe when it comes politically, when it comes down to the DNC. But how do we utilize the DNC to create more opportunities for folks in the city of Milwaukee? We can bring more conferences, but this is economic development opportunity. How can we create more businesses? How can we expand the capacity of many of our black businesses and women-owned businesses as well? And so I want to be involved. We've been having some talks about how we can be involved, but one thing that we're learning is that this is a tight-knit thing. It's a highly secured event, and most of the stuff will be happening downtown, but there has been many conversations about making sure that the north side and the south side of Milwaukee can directly benefit from the DNC coming.
Your general's in April?
General is in April 7th.
So you would be...
I will be the county executive. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when the DNC is here.
Think about that. The DNC comes, all eyes on Milwaukee, and they have a black county executive.
Yeah.
Oh, the DNC would have to love that. That'd be like a dream for them.
Oh man, it's a tremendous opportunity for us in Milwaukee County, and the thing is that we have to make sure that all the voters understand the opportunity that we have, and making sure that folks get out to vote on tomorrow, February 18th, and making sure that they come out for the general on April 7th.
Well, thank you for coming, man. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you to your wife for allowing him to do what he's doing. I know it's a sacrifice. My wife would say thank you, too. She understands. So thank you for letting me do it.
But thank you for what y'all are doing here with Madison 365, the fact that y'all are on the ground, in the community, but more importantly, expanding the voices of communities of color and really having it, like being able to have this candid conversation about, being black in politics and what the next steps will be. We need more spaces like that. So I just want to say thank you for providing that, and I wish you all much more success.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the love, and anytime you want to come back, and when you're county exec, we'll be down there. Like, when you come county exec, we'll come do an interview in your office in Milwaukee County.
Well, I'll make sure to come invite y'all to the inauguration so y'all can be a part of it.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, my man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we always talk about the traditional news outlets, but you have groups like yourself and all these folks who are doing podcasts and doing internet streaming who's reaching more people. And people who look like me, my same age and younger, who usually don't, get involved in these types of things. And so, I want to make sure that we're utilizing our outlets, our community when it comes down to making sure that we can amplify the voice and the message to everybody.
I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
Another episode of Real Talk, and we'll see you next time.